Tiff. I read books and I talk to you about them. But today I'm going to talk to you about a readathon that I'm going to do. I've never done a readathon before, and this one has been like all over my Instagram for the last couple of months, and I decided I was going to try and do it. So I spent a couple of days making a TBR plan the other day. A couple of days the other day? Yeah. Anyway, I made a TBR plan. So the thing is, before I get into anything, I am going to be using the library for majority of my books for this challenge, and Libby, because I am going to do a couple of audio ones as well, because I know my work schedule and I know I'm not going to be able to do the whole thing with physical books as much as I would really like to. So I've got my Rose Apothecary coffee cup. So let's talk about the Fantasy Fellowship Battle of the Five Worlds readathon. So I'll put their Instagram page here. This is a readathon where there are 5 groups, teams, and they each have a different world, part of the world that is their theme. There is underworld, space, desert, ocean, and forest. And each of those have 2 prompts, and then there is 2 bonus prompts as well. So 1 book per prompt. There are 12 books. If you read all 12 books, that's it. You can't read. You can read more, but you won't get any points for them. So the goal is to get the most points for your team as possible. So you do that by prioritizing the prompts from your team, because you'll get an extra 5 points for your team once those are completed. So there's a 2-point prompt and a 4-point prompt. And I'll get into the prompts in a minute, but first I'll tell you the rules. It took me a little while to figure out the rules. So regardless of what team you're in, you read every challenge prompt. So because I've never done a readathon, my brain was took a little bit to figure that out. Luckily, they had a great little Google Doc that explained all of this that I finally found. So there are 12 books. Books count if they are over 200 pages and have an ISBN. Audiobooks do count as long as they correspond to a physical book that is over 200 pages and has an ISBN. Simple. You are also allowed 3 books that are either poetry, graphic novel, or a short story collection, and you can use those in any combination to get 3. I haven't put any on here, but again, I am using the library. Things may be up to change if I go and have a wander and something pops out, because I will be doing some of those wander through the library this month. Because I think last month I made my TBR a little too strict, a little too, I want to do this, I want to do this, and we did not succeed. We didn't succeed, folks, but it's fine. So those are essentially the rules. And then books are up to you to interpret the prompt. There's no prompt police. You just make a book fit the prompt as best you can by reading the synopsis and having it fit. So those are the rules to my understanding. Okay, so let's go through the prompt list. Okay, so I used a Google Sheets to make this because I was putting lots of options in. So let's start with my team. I'm doing the underworld, and the team name is Sticks and Tomes. So for the 2-point prompt, it is one of the 7 deadly sins. So I put on hold and got really quickly, let me move these over here, a botanical daughter, which from the synopsis and the reviews, I'm going with pride. This is kind of a Frankenstein retelling. This is about 2 men in the Victorian era who are in a relationship with each other, and one is a taxidermist and one is a botanist, and the botanist decides after he gets this crate in the mail that has a mycorrhizal fungi in it that is kind of giving sentience to a flower growing out of it, that he is going to build himself a child with this mycorrhizal fungi. So that sounds to me like the epitome of pride. So this is what we're reading for one of the 7 deadly sins. I'm really excited for this. This was a book that I'd heard a little bit about. I did try to get a NetGalley copy of it, but because I just didn't get it. So I'm really excited to get this. I was surprised there was no holds on it at the library with how many people are talking about this book right now. Then the number for the 4-point prompt is A Woman's Righteous Anger. And for my Stephen King reread project, I'm going to blend that in with this, and we're going to do Carrie. I have an audio hold through Libby, so I'm hoping it comes through in that first week of May. So this is also his debut as well. So technically I could have used this for another prompt, but I'm going to use it here because it is just so fitting. Okay, so let's talk about the team that I almost went for, which is the Ocean, which is Fins and Fables. Their 2-point prompt is set in or featuring the ocean, and I have had a hold on Into the Drowning Deep for a while. I'm hoping I can get it. I genuinely think I might really like this book, so I might just buy it if the hold does not come through in time for me to read it for this prompt. My other option is The Mermaid by Christina Henry, which once I get these books and I know I'm going to be reading them, I will give you the synopsis of them. And my final option is Whale Fall. I can't remember the author for that one, but I'll put it, obviously they're all going to be up here. It's one I've been kind of interested in. It's like a little science fiction-y, a little horror-y, and it's featuring the ocean. So those are options. Fins and Fables 4-point prompt is something out of your comfort zone, and this is where I might try to pick up Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. This is a kind of romantasy, but featuring an academic, which makes it a little more something that might appeal to me, but I still don't know if... Why is it doing that thing on the edges? I still don't know if it's going to be for me, so out of my comfort zone here. The other option is that I have is Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut. It is a classic. It's been recommended to me as a sci-fi classic. It's a little dark, a little horror-y to my understanding, but it is something out of my comfort zone because it is written in that era where I tend to not like things written by men in that era for various reasons. And then my last option is Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. That is a nonfiction, and nonfiction is generally out of my comfort zone. It takes a lot for me to be able to get into them. But that is one that I think I might actually like. Space named themselves Beep Boop, and it is an acronym for something I can't remember, but it was kind of funny. So they are Beep Boop. And their 2-point font is a book that no one is talking about. So I do have a hold on this book called Persephone Station, which is a sci-fi. And I can't remember where I stumbled across it, but I have not seen anybody talking about it, and it sounds like something I might really like. It only has like a 3.5-ish on Storygraph, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything for me. It tends to be a little bit, when books are around that, they can go either way for me. Either I love them or I like hate them, so we'll see. And then the other one is Wildflowers Electric Beasts. This is one that I learned about through Storygraph through a giveaway that I did not win, but it is a kind of sci-fi ish, but yeah. Okay, the number 4-point prompt for the 4-point prompt for Beep Boop is a never read author, so I picked up from the library Slewfoot by Brahm. I had a digital hold on this forever, got it, and then realized there were like really gorgeous paintings in here, and I needed a physical copy. Luckily, it was available. So this is about a woman who, I believe she becomes a widow, and because it's set in like 1666, she's not allowed to hold her lands, but she wants to, so she makes a pact with something, supernaturally, obviously. So, you know, and you can see the legs here. So that is kind of all I know about it. I know that everybody who reads this, like, so many people love it. Other people have been like, eh, but people that I tend to kind of jive with, really loved it. So I'm hoping I will. Okay, so then the desert team, which I also almost was convinced to join, is called The Wasteland. I almost joined it, especially after they revealed their name, because I was like, Dark Tower. Anyway, so their 2-point prompt is a debut book. So I do have an arc that I was hoping to get through in April, but I haven't got to yet. So I may read that one. It's called The Sins on Their Bones. And then I think I have a couple other arcs that I could potentially use as an option for this if I want to, but The Sins on Their Bones does come out in May, so hopefully I'll be able to read it. If I get to 4 books in the first week, it will be one that I read. So I will tell you about that in the week that I read it. The other one is Chlorine, which goes along with me wanting to read mermaid books this month, this coming month, because of Mermay, so I may read that one. And then their 4-point prompt is an unfashionable cover, which is very subjective, but I tried to find books that didn't have covers that matched popular themes that are going around right now. Really popular things right now seem to be things with lots of flowers on them, like in the horror stuff, lots of skulls and flowers, things like what you do see on like Botanical Daughter, for example. And this color, there seems to be a lot of books like this color right now. So I put on there the Christina Henry Lost Boy, which is her Peter Pan retelling, Christina Henry's The Mermaid, which is her Little Mermaid retelling, and Night Bitch, just because it might have been popular like the year it came out, which was a couple years ago, I think, but it doesn't seem to kind of fit now. And these are all books that I've been wanting to read, so they're all options. And like I said, I make them with other ones. And then the forest team is the Wildwood Wardens. Their 2-point prompt is next in series, so I did put on here to read Silverborn, which is Mercy Thompson number 5, but I'm reading that one right now for the end of the month. So I might read Mercy Thompson number 6, or I have Harrow the Ninth that I really want to get to. I also have Paladin's Strength, or any of the Discworld books. So these are all kind of options. I do have a lot of series going on, but because of the trying to get so many books, I'm trying to pick some of the shorter ones. Harrow is a little longer, but I know I can get through it fairly quick because of the writing style of it. It just works for me and I just devour it. I might also use my Audible credit for Jade War because I really want to finish that series, but reading it physically for me is not working right now because I've just been so exhausted lately. So the 4-point prompt is inspired by stories of yours or your ancestors' lands. And this one I really struggled with, finding a story inspired by a region, and searching for them is very difficult to search for because, for example, I was like, oh, I kind of want something folk tale, a little horror-y because horror is working really well for me right now, and all I got was like all these folk horror books, like lists of them. So this one is still very up in the air and subject to change, but one of the ones that I can also read is that Christina Henry Lost Boy, because J.M. Barrie was Scottish and some of my family comes from Scotland in the way back, immigrated from Scotland. So I don't know. I'm gonna maybe look around for things inspired by the Pacific Northwest as well, because that's where I live right now. But we'll see when it comes to that. Like, hopefully I can find something that I can be inspired to read. So then we get to the bonus prompts, which the first bonus prompt is a previous Fantasy Fellowship book club or buddy read. So I went to their list of everything that they have had previously. So I could read Sunbringer, which I didn't like Godkiller, but I could read Sunbringer as a did it get better type of thing. That I don't know how I'm going to feel about that, because I did read Godkiller in like 4 hours, so maybe I could read Sunbringer very quickly as well. Might have been 6 hours, but I read Godkiller very fast, so I might be able to read Sunbringer very fast as well if I have a day to just sit down and read through it. So that's a possibility. Bookshops and Bone Dust is another one, because I have some mild interest in it and they have it on their list. Then The Traitor Bar of Cormorant, which is one I just returned. I might probably not do that one because it's 400 pages and it's heavily political, so it could be a little slower read for me. If I don't use Emily Wilde for my out of comfort zone, I can use it here. Also The Gunslinger, because I do kind of want to start a Dark Tower reread. The Gunslinger is actually really short, it's only like 240 pages, and it's one of my favorite Stephen King books, so I might actually use that one, and we'll see how I feel throughout as the challenge goes on. I might just need to pick up an old comfort read, and that one will work for that prompt. The last one is a set in your favorite time period. So a favorite time period for me is kind of hard because I don't necessarily have a favorite. I think I have ones I gravitate to, but I don't have a favorite. So I really like things set in the 90s because of millennial nostalgia. And then I do like things set in the Victorian era as well, just because of the vibes of it all. So I do have House of Hunger that on audio that I have acquired. This does meet all the requirements, so I will be starting that one for the first week. So this is, what is House of Hunger? This is actually one I can't remember. Vampires, Victorian era, and a woman from a lower class who ends up living with the upper class. I almost used this for one of my 7 deadly sins because it felt like it could potentially be like a greed, kind of lusty, almost obsession-y thing, but who knows. So those are my options for the Battle of the Five Worlds Fantasy Fellowship readathon. Let me know if you have any other suggestions. So if you have suggestions for in stories by your ancestors or your current lands, I live in the Pacific Northwest right now, and most of my family is from Scotland, Ireland, and Norway, but also from Missouri and Illinois and Alaska, like if I look at like where everyone came from in the United States. So if you know of any stories inspired by those areas, send them to me, because I need options. So, hopefully you enjoyed this list of books. This is kind of my monthly TBR, so we'll see. My plan is to check in with you every week with a weekly wrap up of what I read for the challenge, the readathon, and if I join the Discord, maybe where the points are at and things like that. I just don't know if I'm going to join the Discord because I've never used Discord. Dog is grumbling, so I'm going to go and I'll see you next time.